Hello, good people. Hope everyone is doing well. Here in my house, it's quite a rainy day outside, so it's a perfect opportunity to get the old 8-bit systems out and give them a quick run through. I've just about watched every Commodore video that's out there currently on YouTube. I thought, well, I'll just make my own and contribute a little bit to the pool of good videos that's already published. I came across this cartridge. I wanted to go over this. I haven't seen anything on it, well, not much anyway, on the internet at large, and then nearly nothing on YouTube itself. It's a Mach128 cartridge, and for this I got out one of my 128s, and I'm in native mode. And as most of you will know, this thing runs Commodore 64 cartridges just fine. Same form factor. Goes in the back, and for the most part these cartridges are made for the 64, but they'll run in a 128 in 64 mode. Now, if you're not familiar with the 128, it's actually 3 computers in one, and has the ability to run these old Commodore 64 cartridges, which is great. But the bad thing is there are hardly any 128 native cartridges that actually do stuff on the 128 side, which is what you see here. I recently ran across this one, which is a Mach128, and this one's actually one of the rare cartridges that do that. Not only that, it can also run in 64 mode as well. So it's got a little switch here and a reset button, which is very handy if you're on a Commodore 64. Now, the 128 actually has one built into the side, but the Commodore 64 doesn't, and like I said, you can use this in a Commodore 64 as well. The switch goes from 128 mode to 64 mode, and it also serves as an off switch. So if you've got something that's not compatible, you can flip it to the mode opposite of what you're on machine-wise, and it turns it off. So if you're on a 128, you can put it in 64 mode, turn it on, and the cartridge is essentially off. So it won't interfere with any kind of programming you've got going on. And what this is, it's very similar to the Mach 5 cartridge, if you've ever seen one of these. These are loader cartridges that speed up the very slow access times from the old Commodore 1541s in particular, but other drives as well. And they're similar to like the very well-known Epix Fast Load cartridge. But let me give you just a quick demo on this thing. So we're in 128 mode here. I'm going to go ahead and put in Simon's Basic. Alright. Now if you'll notice, this is actually in Commodore 64 mode now, and that's how most cartridges behave. They'll actually auto boot into the 64 mode, and that's to be expected. Now this one is a little bit different though. Now, if you look, it says Mach128 with warp drive. So I'm actually in 128 mode on a 128. So it boots up, and then you've got all the functionality. It's really great because you've got the DOS wedge. So you've got all these commands, and it's just ideal when you're wanting to pull up a directory from a floppy drive, and you don't want to disrupt the program that you've got in memory. It's a non-destructive directory for your floppies. Unlike the load $8 command, which actually whatever you got in memory, it erases it and just loads the directory into memory, and then your program that you had in memory previously is gone. Anyway, so let's turn this machine off, and now let's put it in 64 mode. I'm still in the 128, but in 64 mode. And now you'll see it brought us up into the Commodore 64 mode with the warp drive on. And this is great. So let's see what we have here. Yep, there's all the commands. And let's do something else. Let's switch it out with this Commodore 64 on the left here. I'm going to pause the video and we'll switch that. Okay, I've got the Mach128 in the 64. I've got it in 128 mode, and I mentioned previously that if you've got it in the 128 mode in a 64, it's off essentially. I think I misspoke and said it was the same way on a 128, but it's actually not. It actually flips it to the 64 mode if you've got it to the 64 selector, or the 128 mode if you got it on that selector in a 128. So it's an off switch when it's in 128 mode on a 64. And what's handy is now you've got the reset button that you can press in Commodore 64. This red bin model does not have that, which is very handy. So let's go ahead and flip it over to the other side. And now it's going to be in 64 mode. There you go. And even though it's a Mach128 cartridge, it lists it as a Mach 5, just like this one, which is funny. But anyway, this is a great cartridge. If you happen to run across it, grab it. You don't see many that actually work in a 128, and you surely don't see many that work in a 128 and a 64 in both modes. So I just thought I would cover that and throw a video up online. Haven't seen many on this actual cartridge. This is not the finest example of this cartridge with the label, but it does work. Haven't had any problems with it. And it looks like that from the various angles. Yep, and there you go. Cheers.